Hello and welcome after a quite long period. I think the last stream was about 2 weeks ago. I'm back and ready for something interesting today. Today I wanted to start a new project. It's something that I played with, so the idea for the project is something that I have in mind from quite some time now. I played with it a bit from time to time, and whenever I worked on it, it was an on and off thing where I would just be into it for a couple of months usually, and then just leave it there and coming back and trying again and so on and so forth. And I'm thinking that today is the day that I finally make good on the promise I made to myself to finalize a project. Because there is this joke that usually programmers have their side projects that they never finish, so I wanted to make sure that this time would be different. And because I stream this live, there will be this accountability part. So yeah. So a few words about the project. What I want to build is an expense tracker, and for, let's say, the MVP, it will be just a way to manually input expenses and see a few bits here and there how your money goes where. And first and foremost, I want to do this for myself because I wanted to take a little bit better care of my finances, and in order to make informed decisions, you need to see where you stand, because sometimes when you are not aware of the spendings, money can just flow, and you're not exactly sure where they go. So first and foremost, I want to do this for me in order to be helpful. And after the MVP part is done, I want to also add some budgeting feature where for example, you keep an account of your expenses for, like, let's say, a month or a couple of months, and then based on the insight that you get from that, you can just plan ahead and do something with the budget. So yeah, that's where I'm at. Weird. I think that the YouTube chat is broken. For some reason the YouTube chat is not working. Jeez. Wonder why that is. Okay. Fortunately, sure, if I can fix that. Probably I'll do this off stream. So let's get back to the business. So that's the functionality part. In terms of tech stack, I want to use SvelteKit, and I want to use this opportunity to demonstrate my process and how nice SvelteKit is for building a full stack application, because there will be a lot of parts involved. So this is my go-to stack for any new project, which can take you pretty far, because when talking about scalability, there are concerns about how long can you go until you hit a wall and you are not able to, or let's say usually the TypeScript frameworks these days have this, way of just being able to get you so far. But yeah, that is pretty a concern for much later in the development phase, because I think that with options like, for example, Vercel, or what I will be personally using for this project, which is Cloudflare, the scalability part is not necessarily an issue, because the infrastructure is handled pretty well. But yeah, there is a time where, or a point where that will be costly, and that is the point where you need some technical decisions. I heard an interesting phrase from one of the people I watch on YouTube, Theo from t3.gg. If you know who that is, he has this term called the prime line. The point where your project evolves, and then you need to get someone like the Primeagent to come and fix things for you. Or probably from your first solution, you need to scale to something like, I don't know, Rust or Go or something that can better handle that use case. But of course, that's not a concern for now. We're not with no users. That's not an issue. So, getting back to the point at hand, I'm gonna be using full stack SvelteKit for this project, with a pretty handful of other services or integrations. For example, I like to take advantage of Cloudflare infrastructure, which offers you quite the experience, because you have many things integrated there, like database. For the actual infrastructure part of the app, you have Cloudflare workers, which are serverless functions handled by Cloudflare, and particularly for my use case, also Turnstile, which is a CAPTCHA solution, as well as some other stuff like Resend for email management, ChatCN for components, or UI reusable components, and a few more, but we'll get there. So without further ado, let's just go into it. Let me just open up my terminal. I will be starting from a blank repository. Which will be this one right here. You can find it on GitHub on the link that I'll provide at the end in chat. So the first thing would be to the dev folder and clone the project. Woohoo! Now let's go over to Svelte. This is the official website for Svelte, which it presents really well how to work with both Svelte and SvelteKit. In case you didn't know, SvelteKit is what it's called a meta framework, something like what Next is for React. And I saw that they also mention here for Vue you have Next, which means that you have the primary part, which is the thing you use for building components, Svelte, React, Vue, and then you have something on top of that which integrates with web solutions like SvelteKit, which offers things like routing, endpoints that you can hit for loading data, for actions, in this case form actions, and so on. And you can see here the command is called svcreate, but I'm not gonna be using npx, but instead npm. And I will do so. Yeah, directory is not empty. Ooh. Yes, minimal is good. We want to use TypeScript, of course. We will be using Prettier and ESLint. Tailwind, yeah, I forgot to mention that. I really like Tailwind as a styling solution. We will also need an adapter for Cloudflare. And let's get the Drizzle integration. Drizzle is the ORM that I will be using for the database. And also Lucia, but I'm not sure if I want to use it right now. I think I will just skip it for now, and I will add it a bit later. No Tailwind plugins, and adapter Cloudflare, with a SQLite database, and yeah, SQL is good, and PNPM, and that's the setup we need for this part. Okay, now I'm already here. Okay, so let's just open this up in the editor. And voila. This is our project structure. Okay. So a couple of things were scaffolded for us, which we'll be editing later. for now, let's see. One thing that I know for certain, so let's look at the dependencies. So, as you can see, by default, Svelte comes with Tailwind version 4, which is nice, but unfortunately won't work for our use case because as of the moment of the recording, ShadCN, which we will be using for components, is not actually supporting Tailwind 4 yet, unfortunately. But from what I saw, it shouldn't be long until it will be viable. So in the meantime, I thought about just using Tailwind v4 and just doing things myself, but I thought that it's not worth the trouble yet, so I will just be waiting for ShadCN to officially support Tailwind v4, and that's when I will be doing it. So, a lot of things to go through. The first thing I usually like to do when creating a new project is just making sure that the configuration is set up correctly. In our case, for the vidconfig, things look good. One thing I like is to have a named export here. So having something like cost on big, and then exporting it like so. Yeah, good. Another thing, okay, let's take tsconfig, which good. One interesting thing is that the folder that you see right here, the directory called lib, is automatically, it's a bit magical in Svelte in the sense that in order to access it and not having to do like absolute paths, you have, or relative paths, you just have an alias for it. You can see here it's automatically handled by Svelte in the configuration. Another thing we have right here in the Svelte config, and I want to make sure that it's a bit consistent. Just I think that okay, so actually this needs to be TypeScript file. It's okay. Usually I like to have all the config in JS files, but it's okay. We can skip that for now. The ESLint config. Looks something like this. One thing that I like to do is to make sure that I save manually the configs, first because of formatting reasons, but after I modify the prettier configuration I will come back to this, and second because I have the automatic import sort set up, which is cool. So for the drizzle config, so firstly what I like to do is to make sure that the app is running after setting up the configuration, and then just do a quick deploy with the basic form, which will be just probably a hello world on the page, just so I know that everything is working accordingly. And after that, should I leave this like this? Maybe just a little bit of what we will have here. So because we are going to use Cloudflare D1 for database, we don't actually need to have a database URL for connecting to it. This is only needed for local development when using the Drizzle Studio. In here, the database file will be read, and this is where we will need this libsql dependency. But other than that, we have no use for it. Okay, just go and export. Like so. And probably I will just come back to this when time is right. Okay, for prettier, again, I will just rename this to here config. I think that is .config. And for this one, okay, looks good. What I'd like to do is to make sure that I said the W2. My colon to true, like here. Oops. Well, codes false. Trailing comma S5. Other than that, it looks good. I'm not sure why it's not formatting. Okay, maybe I will just need to move the dependencies and reinstall this. But first, move this up quickly. Here. I also do as this flag in here. What this will do is whenever I run the dev command, running the project, it will automatically open the browser for me. Okay, and it looks good. And let's just move this down here, since I mentioned that we only need this for development. Okay, also let's remove the file. And now let's reinstall this. Still not working for some reason, which is odd. Strict in the book. Closing and opening up again. Still nothing, which is pretty weird. Let's just make sure that we have the latest. Version of the packages. Okay, what about running the format command? I see that for the most part this should be working. The only problem is the tab width. Might be the issue. Like, it's not it. This quickly. Does it have something to do with my settings? Because using it somewhere else looks to be working. The extension seems to be working as well. It's quite odd. Indeed, this is quite odd. I suspect that it has something to do with the fact that the default prettier config has this option for use tabs, which, as you can see, it is a tab which takes 4 spaces, or the equivalent of 4 spaces. But setting it to false should require using spaces instead of tabs, and a tab width of 2 should work. I have some other options in here. Quick search, if I can find anything about this. Quite the odd thing. One thing I can try is to just remove it entirely and try again. So let's go back and on the repo. Let's not install the dependencies. And this. Make sure to update this first. Here.config.js. and install the dependencies manually. And finally, it's working. Okay. So yeah, that was pretty weird. But no major setback. Should be good to get back to where we were. Nice. Working as expected. Just thing is that single quote needs to be false. And why is this not working? Come on. Are you kidding me? So for some reason there is an issue with reading the config. Oh my god. Okay. Just for the sake of it, I want to try to install the dependencies from the setup. And see if I update the config first, will it be working? Okay, so first things first. Can't believe this. Okay, so let me just grab this and have it at hand. And for the last time, hopefully, Okay. Finally, it's working as expected. So we'll need to modify this at some point. But for the moment, leave it like so. Okay. And with this, you can try to run the project. Seems to be great. Now that we have this, finally, what I'm thinking is so there are things that need to be done here in order to make this, or call it, a successful setup. Which is bringing in the or setting up the pipeline, the ICD pipeline for GitHub, and then configuring Wrangler, which I should also probably call it. Just delete the modules first and the log file, because I forgot one thing to do. So I moved the libsql dependency to a dev dependency, and that is no longer correct for us. We need Wrangler. Okay. Okay. So with that, I think that this part is done. Interesting that it already created this .wrangler directory internally for managing Wrangler bindings or Cloudflare bindings. So now what I want to do is to, in our root directory, I want to bring in action. Just copy paste this from a setup that I already have done. I'll just go through this part and explain what it does. So here in the GitHub folder is where you can set up your pipelines. And first I want to have this custom action for installing for setting up Node and installing the dependencies using PNPM and making sure it uses cache. So we have here the setup node, the PNPM, and this part for caching, which ensures that we have a directory set for PNPM to, or actually the runner of the action to know where we should store that, making sure we have that, and then installing it. Then the actual pipeline that Okay, so something's really off today. Not sure why I cannot select. I'll just bring this in. So here is the actual pipeline, which does a couple of things. So probably I should comment out this part for the moment. Okay, so not the entire step, but rather this part. Okay. And what does this pipeline do is it checks out the environment where the pipeline will be running. It's making sure that we have files. Basically, it does a git clone, then is using our custom action, which it knows to access from the root. So basically, you can think of this like the entry point, and being on this, when this will actually run, it will be in our root right here, and we'll know to access our action for the setup. And after that we have another action for Wrangler. Okay. Seems like we have an error there. I don't think it's something about now. Next, the Wrangler setup. Recently, Wrangler migrated from the, or not necessarily migrated, probably at some point they will drop the support for the TOML configuration file, and they introduced this nice JSON configuration option. So here we need to tell this basically tell TypeScript that we have our config right here. This way we can get nice autocomplete. What properties can we have in here? First of all, we will have a name, which is Expensio for our app. Let me just open up quick. First, I want to check out the documentation for Cloudflare and Cloudflare workers, because there are a couple of things that change from the last time that I used it. Yeah, so this part right here, what I've changed, because previously this property, I think it was called site, and now it's assets, which tells basically Cloudflare where to put the static assets that are generated from by SvelteKit when we build the project. And I think because previously there was a specific adapter for Cloudflare workers. Now basically they have merged into one adapter. As you can see here, they announced a change for this. Let me open up my Cloudflare account. Currently, I still have a version of this project. I think I will just delete this one. And let me make sure that okay, storage. Okay, so it looks like it's clean now. Good. Here I've got my account. Specify a main entry point. Which will be Cloudflare worker.js. Just make sure that it's the case. Yep. What? Let's just copy this and tweak it a little bit. Okay, so this is for Cloudflare workers, which is not what we want. This is what we actually want. And apparently the main entry point has changed also. We'll just compatibility date put which is 11th May. And a couple other options in here be our custom build command. I like to set an environment variable for production, just so I can have something to know that we are running in a production environment. This option for observability true make sure that we are using, so there is a predefined, so a custom logging option for Cloudflare. I think it's called worker logs or something like that, which is fairly new from what I understand, and in order to make sure that it's enabled, and you can see logs for the requests, you need this option right here. Okay, and I think, okay, one more option that I want to grab quickly. Be this one, workers dev, which make sure that we have well, it would be interesting. Let me just quickly open up the Cloudflare documentation. So that ensures that we have custom subdomain automatically set up by Cloudflare for deploying our application. But we actually have a custom domain for this, and the way I used to do this is just through Cloudflare dashboard. But I'm thinking now, wouldn't it be cool to just have this set up like so in code? What? I think I will just leave it like that. And just for good measure, open it up again. And it works. Let's just commit the changes. And push this. But one thing that I think won't happen. So yeah, I forgot a couple of things. So first of all, we need to set up the we need to set up the API key for Cloudflare, which I forgot to do. And I thought that probably the GitHub action won't be triggered since this is our first push, with this, but apparently it was smart enough to detect it, and as you can see, the deploy failed because we don't have our key set up. So what needs to be done is here in the repository settings, secrets and variable and actions. A new repository secret should be named Cloudflare API token. Let me just go quickly to my account. And generate new API token. I just want to make sure, so you can just go this part right here. So the token name be Expansion, and the permissions that we need for this, the KV storage, we will need that for the static assets. So whenever we build the project, the static files generated by SvelteKit will automatically be handled by Cloudflare and deployed to a KV storage. This is basically what this assets option defined by us means. So worker scripts and worker routes, also worker tails, builds configuration, and so on, all part of the same stuff, configuration for worker and so on. Cloudflare pages, I think that technically we don't need that, but just leave it like that. One thing that I know for sure, and I think it was on account level, we need D1 edit permissions, because we want to be able to modify the database and also access it when we will get to that. But yeah, you can just, here you can select your account or you can select all those, and that should be it. Now, because I don't want to leak the actual token, just create this separately. And first things first, I want to make sure that we have this database URL. We'll be using a little bit later, but in our example file, I want to make sure that I store this, just to be there as a reference. And locally, we'll also make sure. Oh, nothing here. Sorry, nothing here. I also like to have it locally. Let me just. And that's it. Now with the token stored in here, we can just go back to our action and we can either, let me just see. Yeah, we can rerun this job. Make sure that it's working. And the deploy ran successfully. And now in Cloudflare, go to workers and Expensio. Have here a button to check this out, and voila, it's alive and kicking. Now, I'm thinking that probably what I want to do is, just so I can show you how to do this, I have a custom domain for this project, which is currently hosted on Namecheap. I mean, not hosted, it's a Namecheap domain. But in order to be able to use it here for Cloudflare, you need to... we have to do some setup here. And we need to add a domain right here on the dashboard, which in our case would be this one, expensio.app. We want a free thing, of course. that it automatically detected the records that we have, because I usually, when I have a custom domain, I like to set up MX records for emailing. What I have to do is just make sure that I have this name server set up in my Namecheap account. And usually this step takes some time, and I think we'll just come back when it makes sense. After, I think the last time I did this took like an hour or so for this to propagate correctly. And with that out of the way, we can continue our little setup here. And I'm thinking that probably the next logical thing to do would be to set up the components library, Schätzchenswelt, because that's what we will be needing. And only after we've done that, we'll go and set up the database and then authentication. So in order to do that, just navigate quickly to the website for Schätzchenswelt. Here in the docs, we have what we need to do, and it's interesting that we saw that now. That it actually specifies a version of the SV command used for creating the repository, probably because that is the last known version where the Tailwind 3 setup was done. Not sure, but I think that we need to create a Tailwind config file. And now we can run this command to initialize Schätzchen. We'll stop the dev server and we'll run this command with the default style. App CSS, Tailwind CSS. We'll use lib components, libutils, hooks, and for the UI. And if you take a look, we have things that we need. Before going further into actually adding some components, just want to check quickly. So yeah, what we'll have to do is remove Tailwind CSS as well as the Tailwind Feed CSS adapter. Because we want to add Tailwind CSS version 3. Also, we need a prefixer. I think we don't need a dependency for post CSS, so make sure these are dev dependencies. Oh, come on. So it didn't automatically add the version, so I'll just do it manually, which is this one. And a couple of things. So here in the configuration, in the Tailwind configuration, I like a certain structure here for the colors. We should have the background and the foreground at the top. I also would like to move the top of our card and muted colors up here. Oh man, just remember something. Let the prettier font right here, because for some reason, if I didn't set it correctly at the setup level, it won't do it now, which sucks. Maybe at some point it will work correctly. Till then, just go with it. And primary, secondary accent colors, and what actually, instead of destructive, I like to use danger. The only thing that I got from the Bootstrap era. And also I'll add a access and warning color. Other than that, thing that I want is to extend the transition duration, the custom value of 400. And this should be it for the Tailwind configuration. Now, last thing would be to go in here and what I want to do is go to themes, and because if you take a look at the themes provided by Shadzi and Svelte, it's nice that depending on the color that you choose, I mean, there's not much difference in terms of light color, but when you take a look at the dark colors, you can see that the backgrounds were chosen specifically to work good on some color variants. And what I want to do is copy this green color theme. Go in here, paste this in. And I also want to just a bit let me just quickly move this muted up here at the top, then pop over card, the sidebar part, I think it will be added a bit later. Oops. In the meantime, primary, secondary, accent, moved at the top. And to add variants for danger, this, and burning. Okay. Almost there. And let's just copy paste this. And now before recording the or actually starting the stream, sorry about that, I made sure to select and customize the theme for the primary, secondary, and accent colors, you know, to be a bit more to fit the theme that I have in mind for app. And I went ahead and chose an Emerald 700 from Tailwind for the primary color, the secondary color of Emerald 100, and for an accent, an Indigo 400. And what I will do is go to Tailwind. One thing that is pretty annoying between the Tailwind V3 and V4 is the fact that changing so the colors are the same. It's just that before, or in Tailwind V3, and actually I think in prior versions, the colors used to be described through hexadecimal codes, but now they chosen this OKLCH space for that. And thing is that there might be some discrepancies between what you get here. So for that you need to be using a tool which I found this one right here, or converting between this color space and others, like in this case Cyan uses HCL, an HCL color space, so the codes that you see in here are HCL. I'm gonna try something if I just put that in here. There is quite a you get these weird situations where a small change, like you saw what is here. So what is this 0.14 Q difference? It's causing weird values. Which is why this sucks a bit, but it is what it is. I usually like to use these whole numbers or these values. And this would be the primary color, which is Emerald 700, Emerald 100 would be the secondary color. The accent will be indigo 400. And for the other ones, I have this values. So this color scheme for major success and warning, I have this set up from so long ago, and I think I'm using the 500 variants for red, green, and yellow, if I remember correctly. Okay. And now for the foregrounds. Oh, first of all, I want to be using other background and foreground there, which for the light should be from the zinc palette. For a background. We'll be using Zinc 50, which has this HLS code right here. And for the foreground, Zinc 950. It should be this nice hue right here. And as you can see, this is used in some other places as well. Like the popover card backgrounds are the same as the background, and foreground would be the same. So I think for the primary color is the only one that we would want to use light hue as a foreground, for readability and contrast reasons, but we'll make sure to double check that. But other than that, I think we can use our foreground color for all the other ones, because the foreground being dark color, it will be a nice contrast over the light hues that we have as a secondary accent, and also for these ones. Okay. And for the primary, let's try this one first and we'll see. Regarding these, I'll just use whole numbers. I just round up and down, depending on the value. Not sure if it's such a great idea, but yeah. Now, as far as the dark variant goes, usually the colors are a bit toned down. As you can see here, for example, in the theme presented here, you can see that you have a white foreground for this primary green right here, and on the dark you have a darker hue, but I'm not sure how good is that for contrast. One thing that I will do is just, I'm wondering, these values, yeah, seem to differ a bit for the border input and no, the ring seems to be the same. No. So yeah, they differ a bit. As well as for the muted. The popover and the card. You see that only the foreground is the same for the popover and card. Other than that, they probably just use different shades from Tailwind colors. Okay, so what I want to do is choose the hues. So for the dark variant, I want to use stone. So stone 950 for the background. Oh, oops. We need to convert that first. And you can see what nice of a value do we get in here. This is the background. Let's just get rid of these decimal points. So these are really insignificant. And stone 50. This will make for a nice foreground color. And these ones we can just copy paste from here. And that should be it for the colors. The last thing that I want to do is go to the documentation and figure out the typography part. So the simple thing that I do is just copy these values right here and add them globally here in the layer base. So I have an H1, which you have at apply and this value. Let's just do this. So we have an at apply and copy and paste this a bunch of times. I think we have 4 headings: a P, a small, a code, and maybe a block quote, something like this. Let's just see for H2. This is what we have in here. H3. H4. For the paragraph, I will just use this leading right here. I don't like to have a margin set by default. I want to be able to control that when I actually using it. And for the rest, we have a block quote, which has following style, code, and small, and this we don't need. And one other thing is I want to make sure that the body has a mean height of 100 VH. And that's it. And I feel like the Prettier Tailwind plugin is not working as expected. That one should have automatically sorted this. Okay, as far as this goes, we just need to format it. Have the Tailwind one. Okay, and the last thing I want to do, let's rename this file Tailwind, because indeed it's a Tailwind utility. And inside the lib directory, I want to have a separate directory for utils. Let's just move this up here. And we'll just export what we have here in the Tailwind file. Export star from Tailwind, because here I will later add all sorts of utility methods and constructs, so I just like to have them there. And now this should be working. Nope. Oh, I forgot. So here in the vidconfig, I forgot to remove this reference. And for some reason, Tailwind is not working. Oh, forgot something. Let me just grab this file quickly. I also need a PostCSS config for this one. Let's just run this again. And it's working. Nice. You can see the difference in style right here. And now we can start adding our Shadesian components. And just have a quick look as a reference. So if I take a look at the setup, here is the command that we'll need. Let's see as well. Next, add. And from here, we'll get a nice drop down from which we can select the components that we'll need. I'm not sure if using an accordion, but another dialog. Definitely an avatar. Probably a badge, a button, calendar, definitely a card, checkbox, another data table, a dialog, drop down menu, form, input, label, pagination, popover, select, and this one, the sidebar installs a lot of things. Sonar, switch, let's just have it in there for good measure. Table, tabs, text area, and that's it. And while we wait for the dependencies to install, I want to mention the fact that what I usually like to do is so the directory structure that you see here is pretty, let's say, standard. And what I would like to do is to have in each of these an index that exports things that you need. For example, here in the utils directory, this index will export everything, and then any utility method will be imported just from the /lib, actually $lib/utils path. But the thing is that with the components, you actually have default exports, and because of that, I like to export the default from this right here. But I will get to that in a bit. Okay, so here's what we have. Everything is installed correctly. And again, for example, here, if later we would like to add some more things from inside this hooks directory, we'll just need a index.ts and export star from mobile. Just save this for good measure. Okay, and let me just close all the other stuff right here. And now, for example, for the alert dialog, you can see here that inside the index file in the alert dialog, we actually have exports for the components one by one, or you have this alias export right here. In the case of the components that follow this structure, I just like to delete this right here. Okay, and inside UI, I will create an index.ts file and export star as alert dialog. Okay, so thank you, Copilot. So this is what I was mentioning, and because we have a named or an alias named export, not 100% sure, but because of that, whenever you import this, not only that you don't need a default export, like, let me just demonstrate this quickly. Alert dialog. I want to do this. Okay. So you can see that you can just keep porting from this from the braces right here. So everything that will be available inside this directory through the index file, which is just a personal preference. I think it's much nicer. But because we are doing this alias right here, we can just go like this. Alert dialog that root. Okay, forgot to close this one. And now everything that you have in alert dialog is accessible through this dot syntax. All of these parts right here, which I find to be pretty nice. Okay. Before we go any further, another thing that I like to do, we get this. So I'm not 100% sure why the author of the Shetsion library uses this syntax right here for the .js. So what I usually do is just go like so, import from libutils. Oh, I think that so for us it doesn't work to have a JS because we don't actually have a single file. We have this this directory structure right here, and yeah, because of that I like to go like so, and that was just some manual cleanup for this. I could do this automatically, just use the search and replace functionality from VS Code, but one thing that I sometimes see is that I like to format the files manually for the first time, because using the prettier formatter from the console usually tends to do a couple of things different depending on the case. So yeah, just a quick rundown through the files won't hurt. Let's just move this one to the front and close all the other ones. And we have on some of them, for example, where we import some button variant, we have an error, but it will be fixed once we add the button as an export here. Okay, so for the avatar, again, just make sure that we export things correctly. And the same way we have this for alert dialog. Oh, oops. We have avatar right here. Now for the badge. Same thing as here, but I also want to, I'll come back to this a bit later, or you know what, let's just do it now. I can do this automatically, so search for all destructive references, and you can see, sorry, all of them refer to using that destructive variant that is automatically added by Shetsion. But we can just replace this with danger, like so. And I also like to add for the badge some more variants, like let's just copy this secondary and paste it a couple of times. So instead of secondary here, we'll have accent. Here, instead of secondary, probably you guessed it, we will have success. And last but not least, warning. Great. That looks perfect. Now okay, that's what we need from here. And because here we don't have any aliases, so we just export, for example, badge variants, and the type of badge variant. Here we can just go like so and export star from badge. Now let's take a look at the button, where I actually want to add a handful of other variants. I will just copy and paste this, because they are quite extensive. So here you can see that we have an outline, a ghost, and a link variant, which are basically the defaults for their type of variant, because each of them is has something unique. So what you see in here is we have the default, danger, outline, and secondary, which are, you know, let's say standard buttons with the color being full. But you also have the outline, which is a button where you first see only the border, and when you hover over that you see the actual color. The ghost is similar, but you don't have the border by default, and link is just a button that is link. But I like to have all the variants for those as well, and that's why I like to use this one instead of just having, as you saw, the, let's say, the default outline where you use the primary color, also have an outline secondary, accent, and so on. And now I don't want these. I want buttons, prop size variant, root as button, and button variant. And it's a bit weird that you see this, where you just export badge, and here you import and then export, but whatever. You know what? I like to be as consistent as possible, so I will just go like so. Import, and here I have root, which is this. Then badge variants. Okay, so everything is fine. It's just the ESLint complaining that we don't use those. And yes, that's exactly what I want to do. Export these back. So, you know, just to be consistent. And now the same thing. Export star from button. So before I go further into these ones, I just want to take a second here and want to check this out. What I want to do is display all these variants. So we have this default one, which is primary. We have a secondary, accent, danger, success, and warning. And probably let's just delete those and maybe just have a section right here where we display those as the flex with a gap of 4. Then just add 1, 2, and more. So here we'll just have a variant like so, and this will be first outline and then outline dash. Here we'll have variant Ghost, and this should be variant and I like to do this first of all as see, let me just okay, so project's not running. I need to run the command. I like to do this first of a measure of control to see how things look like, and also to make sure. Let me just put some spaces in here. So we'll add some margins. So just for a quick overview to see how things look. So you can see the buttons right here. These are the outlines ones. You can see they have the border, and when you hover, you can actually see the color. These are the ghost ones. You don't see anything, just the text, and when you hover, you see their background, and then the links. This one right here does not work really well on our foreground, but the other thing that I want to do, this is the one, is making sure that the contrasts are okay for the colors that we selected. Let me just get rid of some of those, and as you can see, the contrast is good. So the only one is the AAA mark or small that usually you don't hit. It's pretty hard to do so. So for example, here, instead of using this foreground, if I were to use, okay, you can see because this is a special color, you can't hit the AAA small mark with anything, not even with pure white. So yeah, that's it. The same goes for this indigo, which is our accent color. Even if I go full black here, we won't hit the mark. But that's alright. For the most part, they are readable. I'm just wondering if I go in the other direction with this one, which is white. Yeah. We don't have enough contrast for this, unfortunately. So, yeah. Everything looks good. Yeah, unfortunately didn't get pretty far today. I think I will take a quick break and come back to see what is left to do and just do a small alignment talk, and we'll see how do we get from there. See you soon. And we're back. Sorry for the long break. Yeah, so I was thinking that probably be a good place to stop for now, because most of the things that are left to be done here are boring, tedious stuff that I can do off stream. The next thing that is left is probably to discuss a bit about navigation. So now I'm just planning ahead for the next streams, next live streams that we will make. So we will be using a really nice feature of SvelteKit. So probably I should have mentioned that SvelteKit uses this file-based routing system, which means that anything inside these routes, these special files you see right here, this plus layout, this plus page, have a certain meaning. So a plus page is actually a route that you can see. So for example, this slash route right here is exists because we have in the root of the routes a plus page. But if I go like, just a quick example, if I create a directory called A, for example, and I have a plus page that's svelte here, now I will have available this A route, which is this one, it's this one. You can see we get the default error page, the for not found. We go to something that doesn't exist. And this layout right here will be a layout that has common things for all the pages right here that we have. So if I put something like an H1 here, now this will be available all on the all the routes of our app. So yeah, what I like to do is to use a thing called, I think they are called group routes or route groups. Route groups, I think they are called route groups, which means so there are special directories. They're not so if you have a directory, as you saw, for example, A, so, or let me just show something like sign up. If you don't have anything right here in the name, and you have a plus page inside of it. Okay, so this is actually become a file. So if I have sign up right here, so a directory with nothing special to it, doesn't mean anything. It's just a normal route. If you have something like square braces right here, I'm not sure how this will be treated, but probably if you have something like this will be a parameter, route parameter. The cool thing is the thing that looks like so. And for example, here you can have something like auth. This is called a route group. So this doesn't actually translate to something in the routing structure. So it doesn't have nothing considered navigation. And you can see this right here. Because we have a route group with a plus page in it, which basically translates, because this is not part of the URL navigation, it translates to a slash, but we already have something like that in here. We get this conflict, because basically we have two pages that point to the slash route. And I like to use this to structure the app with three major things. So the public, which are the public routes, the auth for authentication, and then the app, which is the actual routes for the actual app itself, which require the user to be authenticated. Sorry about that. And inside, for example, I also like to, inside the app group, I use, for example, an admin group, which are routes that are only accessible to users that have a certain role. But I'm getting ahead of myself. We'll get to that later when it's the case. But I just wanted to highlight the fact that I want to be focusing first on the pages on the public path. On the we will have a public group, route group. Then we'll be focusing on the auth part, which would involve integrating a couple of things like the database, the email service, which will be recent. After that, or that will be the point where we will go into the app itself and developing things that are specific to our use case, which will be our expense tracker. So yeah, that's the plan. That should be it for now. One quick thing that I remember, and I want to show that. I saw that during the break that the custom domain was validated and is now integrated into Cloudflare. And now, okay, I need to go back, go into workers in our Expensio worker. First of all, this dashboard that you see right here for the metrics, and I think that the metrics are enabled by default, but the logs, this right here is enabled because we have that. I want to show you what it translates to. So what you have in our Wrangler config is option for observability true, enabled true. This is what allows the things right here, and I will show you that in just a second. And now you can see that Cloudflare automatically deployed our app at this route, which is a subdomain of their .workers.dev domain. We have this Expensio, the name of the project, and Neobit, this is the name of my account. But I want to add a custom domain, which will be Expensio.app. Okay. And add domain. And just like so, if I first go here to this button, you'll see that I can access this through the Cloudflare subdomain. And now, okay, I think that we won't see any logs here because no actual requests were made. These are static assets that are hit probably to the CDN of Cloudflare. But if I navigate to this domain, I will see the app as well. So that's cool. You saw how easy it was. Basically, in the setup that you have here, Cloudflare automatically added the DNS records for this necessary to map to this worker right here, which is pretty cool. Also, let me just quickly go to the storage, and you can see this Expensio worker assets. So here are the things that the adapter automatically did for us, which is to bind. Actually, not the adapter. We mentioned here in settings, where we get where is the directory that we have our static assets, and then bind this to key value storage. And if you take a look here, you will see that we have, for example, this is what is actually created when you run the build command. And these are just values. I see a lot of things here that I'm not sure. Okay, so I'm not sure if they were cached previously, because they look a bit different than what I think should be. But yeah, you can see that we have basically files right here, JS, CSS, and so on. So yeah, that is it for today. Thank you for watching this, and hopefully you are as excited as me to continue with this project and see where things go. Okay, well, I wish you a nice evening, night, day, wherever you are watching from. And see you next time. Bye bye.